This is so weird, but this is Rachel from Reading with Rachel, living in Switzerland.
Yep.
Yes. We actually met via BookTube, and now I'm here across the world, and we're like
in my apartment
meeting in person. So it's so cool. It's so cool seeing like the BookTube setup, like someone else's BookTube on here. I think that's always fun. But welcome. It's going to be so cool to share it with you. I've talked about you on my channel before, and I've recommended her channel multiple times. You do a lot of like literary fiction and women's fiction and break down so much. And she's also a PhD student, I've mentioned, and I really like hearing your perspective. So,
thank you.
Yeah,
so
it's nice to have you. So
fun.
we're going to ask some questions today. It's going to be so much fun, so you get to know more about Rachel. She'll ask like me some questions, but it's a good way to, get to know each other and for viewers to get to know you.
I love it.
It'll be fun. And then without realizing, you just noticed we're like matching. We're like brown and brown. So it'll be really cool. Do you want to say hi at least?
Hi, yes, sorry. As was introduced already, my name is Rachel. Rachel's Reading Nook. I, pretty much talk about contemporary literary fiction a lot, lots of women's studies, political satire I love. So we do often read quite different books.
Yes.
But we've done buddy reads on some, which is really fun to see a different perspective as well.
Yes, because I know I'm primarily fantasy, and you read.
I'm
more
trying to get into it.
Very serious books. But we read Addie LaRue, Tomorrow, Call Me by Your Name.
Yes. I'm glad my mom died.
I'm glad my mom died.
And I think there was one more, but yeah.
And surprisingly, we overlap in our opinions and ratings and stuff because we don't always love popular books. We'll just say it like that. But it's really cool being here in like Switzerland, and I haven't done a video with like a drink in a long time because I'm adjusting to being in Italy and everything, and like you can clearly see I'm even like slightly sweaty today from biking and like jumping from city to city here, so I'm so sorry. I found out that Switzerland loves iced tea. Like so much so that they even put it on lighters. Like that's where I first found out. So I thought it would be fun to try rival iced teas with Rachel and see which one we like more. And Rachel already has a favorite, but we'll reveal that at the end and see if I end up liking
I won't sway your opinion
her favorite as well. So we have this one, which is from the Co-op.
Yep.
And it's natural mint. And then we have this one that is lemon.
Migros.
Which one should we start with?
Should we pour a drink from the big one?
Okay.
Cheers.
So let's try it. Oh, that's good.
Refreshing.
Okay, that's good. I like it so far. I don't know how the other one's supposed to be.
Refreshing.
Okay, but I'll have it here. So we have reading, BookTube, and some life questions. Because we did meet prior to this. I didn't just come to her house and just set up and say like, okay, record and then bye. Like I'm getting out of here or anything like that. We actually like hung out yesterday, which is really cool, and more today. And we intentionally had to stop and say it's already 7. We need to actually film something and continue. Otherwise, like we would keep talking about everything on her shelf and everything and all that. Let's start with this first one. So you've read since you were kid, and we talked a little bit about some opinions changing over time, but how have your reading habits or preferences changed over time? And maybe BookTube did change some of your
I
taste
think
as well.
In some ways, yes, BookTube definitely influences. As we already said earlier, we're not always the biggest fans of super popular books, or we're open to disliking really popular books.
I like an honest opinion.
Yes,
so that's why I like your channel and I like chatting with you too.
Me too. When I was a child, I read constantly and consumed books really, really fast. You know, if we took a train trip somewhere, buy a book at the train station, finish it by the time you get off, kind of thing.
Oh my god, you were binging.
I was like a really fast reader all the time, and I think now I've slowed down and tried to be more intentional with my reading. I generally pick out books that I know fit my worldview, which maybe sounds quite narrow-minded, but I don't like to read things that I know will infuriate me or I think are very, very problematic. So generally I read a lot of literary fiction and political commentary, and I also read slower now. We were talking about this yesterday.
That you enjoy your books.
If I read one book a week, I'm thrilled with that. Like I don't think it's something where I have to time myself and oh my goodness, I better read for 2 hours today. I just kind of enjoy it.
Which can be really hard, especially if you're creating content around books. It can, we talked about this a little bit, that you can easily feel like you're, leaving something out or not reading something or enough, and suddenly you're not a reader.
Yeah.
I always see people apologizing for reading something slowly.
That's so sad.
Yeah, and that's not nice
No.
at all. So it's nice that you actually enjoy your books.
Yeah, I do try. So, should I ask you?
Yeah.
So fun. Do you prefer reading as a social or solitary activity?
Solitary all the way.
Okay.
I'm like, leave me be. I don't know, like, I've talked about reading books at the same time with a friend before. Like, hey, while you're studying, I can read or something. But I feel like I get a little distracted. This past year, I have gone out to more cafes to read in public. And like, let me have some lunch and read. And I do a really good job of doing that with headphones on.
Okay.
Like noise canceling headphones.
Okay. Do you listen to something, or you just have the noise canceling?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. I know a lot of people don't like... No,
stimulation.
A lot of people are like, I can never do that, or it can be soundtrack music, or it can be like if the beat stays the same.
Okay.
You know, like, do you actually read it like socially?
I guess sometimes with buddy reads, I like if we're reading together and we like chat about it, like that sort of way. I like that.
I'm out here like reading with people.
You're like, ew, people. No. I do like reading in public though, but like sitting in the park with my dogs and like bringing a drink and just reading. I love that.
You're like, it sounds so nice.
Yeah.
But I'm always afraid. I'm such a suspicious person, and I'm like, what if someone's trying to kidnap me, or like in the house or something?
Okay.
And I don't know.
And you're distracted by your book.
Yeah,
it's a good book then.
It's so ridiculous, but yeah, it's true.
Oh my gosh.
I wonder if this means so far. Like, is there a book that didn't really stand out to you, or maybe you didn't really like it over time?
We've talked about books that you think about more as time progresses. I think one book in particular that lets me reach back to my shelves here. I think Kazuo Ishiguro's Never Let Me Go. When I first read it, and I did post it in a video over a year ago, I think, and I wasn't super in love with it.
Yeah.
And now as time has passed, I've read more of his work and I've become more familiar with his writing style, which is a little bit more withdrawn and doesn't give the reader everything. And when I first read it, I was like, no, give me more details. Yeah. And now that I've come to know his work more, I actually quite enjoy it.
Like you appreciate his style now.
Yes, exactly.
Like what he's actually doing.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, this is what you're doing this intentionally. It's for a reason.
Which I think is interesting, because do you think if you know the intention or message in a book, does that change the way you go into it?
I think it would also change how I think about a book after the fact too.
Okay. But do you feel like it's cheating? You know, because I'm like, if the author is trying to say something, shouldn't they say in the book? Does it add richness? Does it disqualify the author's ability in some way?
I think I tend to look at books as a living object, like a living word that develops, and that's why sometimes if you read something that was written in the 1800s, you can think about the context of that time and how maybe you disagree with some of the things that were said in it, but you can accept it for the time period and like this sort of thing. So I think I do accept outside information in the book, but I usually try to go in not knowing anything, and then sometimes I will do research after. Because you have questions. Have some
and
context.
You're like, I want to know.
I have a BookTube question for you, for all the aspiring BookTube people.
I guess it's like, I'm so small. We're like,
no, but still, you're so disciplined and organized with constant uploads. I'm so impressed. Do you have specific goals and intentions behind your book content?
That's such a good question, because there's a lot of things like I really love about the book community. I love that you can connect with other readers, you know? Like that's so cool to connect with someone like abroad, or people that really love your specific books. I mean, you didn't even think that niche was a thing, or like that subcategory. Like I was talking about like Kindle Unlimited. If you really love that, there's a whole community around that, or like fantasy or romantasy, women's fiction, there's like a whole section. So I really like that. I actually do want to review more books, like work with more publishing companies to give more reviews, because I've really enjoyed that. Like I've really enjoyed reading them, getting more arcs. This past year I've gotten way more arcs than I have before, and also working with more like indie authors too that have reached out like, can you review this? That would be so cool. So it would be cool to be like a full-time content creator or like full-time book reviewer. Who knows?
It'd be a dream. You can get there with your current upload schedule. I believe it.
I was actually really curious though, like if you have intentions behind your content.
I don't think I see myself being a full-time creator, just because I don't have the discipline, and I also just kind of, like I said earlier, I like to read what I like to read.
Yeah.
And I think often when you're making book content, you do have the audience in mind, because you know that certain videos do better or certain videos do worse.
I know.
Maybe. But I love BookTube for meeting people.
Yes.
I think it's so wild that like we are here right
yes,
now.
that was the first. That's why the first thing I mentioned was like connecting with people.
So cool.
It's so cool.
And you know, a friend of mine now, actually, this is a crazy story. She overheard me speaking here in Switzerland.
Yeah.
And because she is also a foreigner living in Switzerland, my BookTube videos have been recommended to her.
Okay.
And she heard my voice, and she was like, "Hey, are you Rachel?"
No way. That is so cool.
And I was just like, "Yes."
I geek out a little
we were
bit.
at a thrift shop, and I was just like, "Yes." And she was like, "I've seen your videos." And
so
now we have a
cool.
book club together. Like,
oh, that's so fun. See,
so
that's really cool. Yeah.
And like this, and now we can meet, and in the future hopefully see each other and read. And I
totally
love that. I love that. That's so cool. The connections.
No, and I definitely want to keep doing that, because we did buddy reads before meeting in person, and especially now I'm like before coming here, I was just thinking like, this girl is brave, because she just met me. She's like, yeah, come to my apartment, it's fine. I'm like, what if I stole something? But that's just my true crime self in my head being like, honestly, is this safe right now to do this right now? Or I could have been the same, like, I'm just going to this random girl's house that didn't met me and
come on over
in a foreign country, and I kind of know the language at least, so I'm kind of safe in that sense.
Gosh, no, absolutely. I think I've been living in Switzerland too long. I'm like, oh, it's safe.
It's fine. Like,
weather's great, sunshine and rainbows.
I know, but that's so cool, and you get to meet people where you can geek out about books. Like, I was just really surprised that we can go on and on about books. Yeah. Like yesterday, we overran our time as well.
Yeah, it's
over drinks, like just talking about books and how like crazy big the book community has become. And then today was the same thing.
No,
like,
it's so
over
nice.
Some snacks.
You don't have to like just like rein yourself in. You're like, oh, this is a free.
I know. I was thinking that. I was like, she actually cares. Yeah. She actually wants to hear me like, and this happened and that
Tell
happened.
me more about the Gilded
and
Edges,
on Goodreads. Yeah. So I think that's always really fun.
No, I love it.
So how do you plan your content?
Oh gosh, you know, I used to be better. I've really fallen off recently.
She has a whole PhD thing right now. Like, I feel like you have a
side project.
A side project.
Where I used to be like, I like to do, we talked about this too, books in threes kind of. So I do a book or a video talking about 3 books that were set in Afghanistan, 3 books that were fantasy and out of my comfort zone, 3 books that, things like this. But then of course you have to read at least 3 books for every single video you post. Yeah. Which it can add up a lot, especially with like wrap up videos where people want to see a lot of content.
And if you're doing weekly uploads,
oh my gosh,
you know, that's 3.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So I try to do a mix of like reading vlogs, wrap ups, and the occasional like secondhand haul. But yeah, I usually have ideas for things, and I just have to make the time to film it.
I know, and also prep. Sometimes you don't realize you have to prep. But what's your favorite type of video? For example,
I like filming vlogs because I think it's kind of fun, like a reading vlog, you packing your bag, going and sitting
like
somewhere.
Travel vlog.
Yeah, like a travel kind of. Oh, by the way, this is where I'm living or whatever.
Yeah, I like the one you did with Lent to London.
Oh yeah,
and then you did the little library.
Oh my gosh,
and you were reading on the train, and I was like, oh, let me
I
live
like
through
filming those. They do take a lot of time to edit.
Also, I'm like too embarrassed to do that sometimes. I'm like taking out my camera on the train. I'm like, oh.
I'm like propping up my phone. I'm like, maybe I'm fixing my hair. I don't know. But I also find that the most popular video that people watch is usually hauls. Yeah. Hauls and like monthly wrap ups.
I wonder why that is.
I think you just
like as a viewer, why do you like
tell
hauls? But do you like hauls? Like, do you like watching hauls?
I like to hear people's opinions. Like, if I watch your channel, it's because I value your opinion and I think what you say is interesting.
So, like reviews. You like reviews.
And if you haven't read it yet, I'm like, oh, I could have stumbled upon that in a bookstore, but I want to hear what you thought about it. So, personally, I don't really like to watch hauls.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But I know people
but they're so popular.
Yeah.
I think I do like hauls, but I think maybe because I want to see if you got like a special edition of something. Yes. Or like, oh, let me see different covers around the world, or I don't know what it is. Is it like consumerism?
Give me the consumption.
I'm like, just like American. I'm like, I can't buy 50 books, but like, you really bought 50 books? I'm like, what are they? What are they?
Yeah. What is something that you didn't expect from posting book content?
Oh my gosh. So you're talking about BookTube or Bookstagram? Ooh, I don't know. That's hard. Okay, honestly, BookTube is so new to me. It's a very new, different platform, and I'm still learning how to make community on here. So I'm really grateful for the people that have reached out, like Rachel, or the readathon that I'm doing next month where Maggie reached out, because it's a little tricky to reach out on YouTube and like connect with people on there. And that's what I keep talking about. Like, how do we connect? But specifically book content on YouTube has been a bit harder because I really want to dive into a book, but I'm like, does anyone actually care about this specific book? Like, I still don't fully know how to think about that, you know, or like you said, oh, I have these ideas, but I need to make time for them, and I'm like, is this what a viewer would want? And I'm still new, so I don't know. Whereas on my Bookstagram I feel more established, and what's something I didn't expect from there is all the community. So that community led me to the BookTube community, and I'm like, oh cool, like I feel like it took a few years, but then I was like, I think I want to do this now, like I want to try it. But the most unexpected thing overall would be I didn't expect to make friends and connections. I'm mind blown because I lived in the West Coast in the US, and here I am like across the ocean, across the world with someone I met through BookTube.
I mean, I don't know how other communities are, but with the BookTube or book content community is that people are so, oh my gosh, you like books? Let's read together. You know, like, I don't know. It's the big
excited
thing.
To share.
Yeah.
Like,
have you recommend this? What do you recommend for me? Like,
and when someone actually reads what you recommended, it's like the best.
And they reach out to you and like, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it, just like you said.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, this is so cool. But we found out we're both in international relationships. So our partners come from different cultural backgrounds, different countries, and we were long distance for a long time. We were both with our partners long distance, and trying the whole thing. What is something that surprised you in dating your partner that is different from dating someone locally or sharing a cultural background?
We chatted about this a little bit yesterday already.
Yeah.
Coming from the US, and this is not unique to the US, I think lots of my friends, we discussed this together, is the difference when you begin seeing somebody and having like the conversation about, are we official? What are we? Are we exclusive? Are we dating? Like, you should ask someone
where your partner is from.
Oh yeah, sorry. My partner is Swiss.
There you go. So it's a Swiss thing.
Yeah, and this difference of not really asking your partner to date you, you just start dating. Like, you start going out for coffee, you're having a nice time, you move in together, and you're like, are we dating?
They're like, didn't you know that I tagged you already?
Yeah, I'm like, okay, we're together now?
Yeah.
So that, I think,
but it's such a valid question.
Yeah.
I would be confused
and he
too.
was so casual about it. And when I talked to my friends who also have Swiss partners, they're like, we had the same thing. Like, I wanted to know what we were, and he was like, well, this is us. And I was like, okay, I guess that's nice.
What is this?
But what is that exactly?
But you just like fell into it.
Yeah, which is kind of nice now. But at first I was like,
boy, tell me.
Yeah, I was like, are you playing with me? Like, what's going on?
I would ask the same thing. I don't know if you could just exist into a relationship.
And now 6 years later with 2 dogs, I'm like, so what are we really?
Are we together? You're like, are we exclusive? Yeah, like, do you like me?
Are you seeing someone? Yeah.
It's a very like logical way of thinking, but it's important to verbalize. I guess I would feel the same. So I feel you. I'm team her.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. Oh, it's kind of a short question.
Yeah.
But would you move permanently? Do you think one or the other is more interested in moving to the other culture? Would you think about moving into a new country together? What are your thoughts with long distance? Is there an end goal?
So my partner is Italian, so he's born and raised Italian, and I'm currently in his hometown like to figure these things out. Yeah. So it's really nice.
So she'll get back to us.
Yeah, I know by the end of September you'll see if like you see me back in the US and you know how that went. But no, actually no. Honestly, he's so kind in that sense. Like he's so open to moving anywhere. He's just like, I just want this to work. So that means like it's better for me to move there, then like I'm fine. But I know that I think we both personally prefer if I come here to Europe. And would I move? I know. I have a friend, but like all the way up there, I guess. It can be really hard to leave your family behind. And also it's a whole new language. Yeah. And I think that's what's different. Like I lived in Germany for a while and I, was learning German. So I even feel more comfortable here than I do sometimes. I get so stunned in Italian sometimes, even though I know like Spanish, I get so stunned sometimes. So I feel like that's probably the hardest is like goodbye snacks, goodbye. My mom's gonna kill me for that. She's like, really, snacks is the first thing you're gonna miss? Yeah, no, those are just like silly, trivial things, but I
they
think
make a
totally
difference in your day to day. Definitely.
Yeah, I just want to feel competent in the language. I think that would be the biggest obstacle, but I think if it was a sure thing and like there's opportunity there and I can continue being like independent like I like to be, oh, too, yeah.
So fun. I can see
you did that.
Yeah.
You did it. She did it. So, okay, here's a good one. Yeah. What advice would you give someone entering a long distance or international relationship?
See, I wrote this question and I was hoping that I would answer. Maybe we can both answer. Yeah. I think, honestly, communication and being really open, even though I said earlier that my partner didn't.
He was just like, guess what? You're here. We're together.
I think it is important to meet and realize that you're from different cultural backgrounds. Maybe for one partner, the language is really scary or frustrating, or there's certain things about the society that make them feel uncomfortable, and you have to be open to having conversations about that. Also, for me anyway, I think knowing that there is an end goal would be really important.
Yeah.
Like people who are in long-term relationships and have no plans, where maybe both of them have great jobs and are really close to the family and would never move.
That's hard.
I think you have to be really honest with yourself and with your partner about what you both want, and be very mature about it, even if it's difficult.
Like the movies, like I gave up love for my career.
Yeah, and then
it's very
you're resentful.
real.
Yeah. No, I think just communication and being really open, and also not being too hard on yourself. Because if you move to another country and say, you're happy there for 5 years and then you decide it's no longer for you, it's not a failure. That's amazing that you took a chance on somebody, took a chance to learn a new language, to go somewhere else. I don't think it should be seen as a failure or like an ending. It's
Here I am learning.
Wow. I'm like, what an amazing thing that you did, that you accomplished, and that you were brave enough to do. So I think,
that's so nice. Yeah. It's like something I think I would say to someone, but not always practice.
Yeah, that's so much easier to say it.
Yeah, to actually be kind. But it's so nice to hear it from someone else that's like gone through it, is currently living it. It's affirming.
And if you went back home, that's fine. Don't let anybody tell you, I knew you'd come back home. You did. That'd
be so rude if someone said that.
People do that for sure.
Yeah, I'm like, they're not nice. That was so good even for me. I'm like, that I needed to hear that, I think. Too, that it's okay to try.
Yes.
But I think, you definitely hit the same advice I would give with communication. I think it's communicating your expectations or hopes, because you can't guarantee anything. You don't know until you try it and figure it out. Spend time together if you can and all of that stuff. But communicating all of that and just checking in. I feel like my partner and I were constantly like talking, like, do you see this? What do you think? What do you hope for? What are you striving for? Instead of like playing games, or in general, even if you weren't local, I'd be like, we're not playing games. Yes. But especially long distance, when it's time and resources and it's like financial too, because maybe you're flying to each other. Like that's a lot of work for him to fly to me and then me to him. Like that's costly.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And you're also choosing to say like, I don't have you here, but I'm committed to you. Yeah. So,
and you're trusting them.
Yeah. So that takes a lot. And so that's why I think it is important to have conversations and have some sort of end goal there, like you said. Yeah. Like if you're both like, this is just for fun, and I see this as like, it'll be cool to see you in the summers, and it's a fling.
Okay. If you're both on the same page, you discussed it.
But like at least you talked about it, and one partner isn't like, but I thought you would want me to move there, and I thought, and then the longer you're together, because being in long distance, time flies. Right? Yeah. And suddenly you're like, whoa, we've been together 3 years, even though I've only seen you like 4 times. Yeah. You finally realize like, wait, it's been 3 years. Yeah. Like, what are we going to do next? Or like, what's going to happen? Or whatever. Unless you're fine being in limbo the whole time. You're not.
I don't know who would be.
You're not, because you want your person. You want to experience like everyday things, like go to the movies or just have dinner at the end of the day. Yeah. So that's why I also think communication is good. The other reason I say communication's number one is because you might misunderstand each other. There will be things that you're like, you're all the flashbacks. I see like, oh my flashbacks and things. Like, because they're different. Yeah. When we're talking about international relationship, there are definitely some things that it's like, why did you say it like that? There's a language difference. Barriers, there's a difference in culture and mindset and upbringing, and you might end up insulting each other.
And not even knowing.
Exactly. So that's why I say like communication really is so important. But I think it makes long distance peeps like really good in communication because it's literally all you have.
Also, we had the same time difference with our international relationships.
9 hours.
If somebody's playing games, you're not going to wait around a 9-hour time difference and they don't respond for 4 days. Move on.
You have no other choice but to be intentional.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Yep.
Because you're just left like, oh, he was supposed to call me, or she was supposed to check in with me, and if she's not, or if he's not, they're not. Obviously, they're not interested.
Yep.
Obviously, it's not a priority, and it's fine, but just let go.
Yeah.
Just move on. Yeah. It's not going to work. Yeah, there's so much we could share, but these are such good questions. Oh my gosh, we didn't even try.
Much.
Yeah, we didn't even try the other one.
Too.
We need to try
so
the
for
other
those
one.
of you who stayed for the whole video, get the good reveal. You have to do a little taste test side by side.
So this one feels more refreshing, even though
okay.
it's like lemon.
Yeah.
Than this, but this one feels like sweeter. So I'm like,
so if you're picturing yourself
I'm like chugging
in Italy on a hot day, which one is calling your name?
This one.
Obviously.
You're like,
I mean,
she was already thinking like, will our friendship end or will it continue?
From Migros, yeah.
I'm like Migos. I'm out here talking about the rappers. Migos. We got a winner.
Come to Switzerland. How's nice to you?
You have this one. Yes, if you come. It's the superior.
For sure.
Rachel approved. Well, thanks for hanging out here today. It's going to be so fun. Make sure you're subscribed to Rachel's Reading Nook and make sure you subscribe to mine as well. And we'll see you in her video. Will have part 2.
Yes.
So make sure you check out, and I'll link that at the end as well, and her channel down below. That's super cool. Yeah. Bye.